I was at a party this past Saturday night, and I was going to get myself a drink. And I'm not like generally such a clumsy person. Like I could walk, okay, but I have such a penchant for breaking things. So, you know, have you ever had that experience where you're reaching for something and you can see it happening, but you don't stop? Also, right. So there I was, and I was getting myself a drink, and I had poured myself the drink, and as I was picking up the drink, I kind of out of the corner of my eye noticed that there were these two glasses filled with wedges of lemons and limes. And I could kind of play it out in my mind. So I'm going to be knocking this over in a moment, but that thought was, I guess, quicker than my hand, because my hand still did that, and I sort of in slow motion watched as that glass fell to the floor and the lemon wedges flew, you know, all over the room, and there were these pieces of glass. And so then I found myself somewhat embarrassed, bending down and picking up these pieces of glass, and there was actually a woman there who I learned with, and she knows that the way that I teach tends to be to really start with something very personal and things that I experience in my life as my lens for growth in Torah. And I turned to her and I said, you know, there's a class in this, right? And so we laughed, and and that actually ended up being the source of my class this weekend. The question I began to ask myself as we were bending down, picking up lemons and glass and trying not to cut our hands, was what's my relationship meant to be to something that's broken? And here had been this beautiful glass that looked so whole and so perfect. And what am I to do with it when it's shattered on the floor? And someone who was there at this party said mazel tov, because that's what we do, right? Something breaks, bunch of Jews there, mazel tov. And then another woman asked her, well, why do we say mazel tov? And someone explained to her that, in fact, what happens under the chuppah at a Jewish wedding, the height of joy, of simcha, of connection, of inaugurating a couple into what their life together is going to be about, building a Jewish home, is we break something. And part of that breaking is to recognize that something really essential from our lives is missing. And that it's not just a physical structure, the temple, that is missing and is symbolized by that breaking, but really that opportunity to have that intense relationship and connection with our Creator through the temple. And it seems like a somewhat contradictory thing that's going on, right? You're under the chuppah, height of joy, excitement, most beautiful moment of your life, and now we're stopping and we're breaking something. And so I found myself thinking about that. Here we were, on the floor, picking up shards of glass, trying to put this back together, this scene. And this woman is asking why we say mazel tov, and one person is explaining, and I looked into it. There are actually some other reasons, which that's a longer explanation. And yet, if we look at that, that is perhaps the answer to how we're meant to relate to the broken vessel, which is that we stand in experiences in our lives, which are experience of heightened joy and completion and wholeness. And yet at the same time, we recognize that there's a piece of the world and perhaps of ourselves that is very much broken. And that experience of that glass in its wholeness, holding those lemons, and then of it shattered on the floor, is not a contradictory experience. I'm not whole or broken. I'm not in joy and in mourning as contradictory experiences, but rather complementary. And our sages tell us that part of our relationship with our Creator is about that ability to hold those seemingly contradictory realities into one. And in Psalms and Tehillim, we're told that we should serve God with awe, meaning we look at God's awesomeness, we look at the mountain and the sunset, and we say, wow, God, I feel your closeness, and this is amazing and beautiful, so that we can connect with trembling. And that trembling, that seems to contradict that awesomeness, that feeling of wow. And yet really they're part of one aspect of relating, not just to our Creator, but to our lives and to ourselves. And so I found myself there picking up those shards of glass and understanding that brokenness really is a piece of coming to wholeness, and that recognizing those aspects of myself and my life that feel shattered, if I can look at them with those glasses of understanding, this is a piece of coming to wholeness, then really those experiences that shatter us, those moments that are somewhat embarrassing when we break things, are really entry points for ultimate completion completion and wholeness, and that the path of a Jew is to stand in life under the chuppah every day of our lives and understand that within that wholeness we hold pain, we hold brokenness, and that we can hold those two feelings and those two experiences into one. And it's through that perspective of I see the whole, I see that glass in its completion, and I get it that it can be shattered and still be okay. That really is my entry point for a relationship with